to one of our brightest hopes, extinguished now and gone.
My name is Cyril Lionel Robert James, and throughout my work as an activist, as a politician, and most importantly as a writer, I've really kept some works close to my heart. Maybe most important among these is this book, A History of the Russian Revolution by Leon Trotsky. I think it's important not only because it really articulates well why Marx was right, and indeed it's one of the two books that really convinced me that Marxism is the right path forward, but it also articulates an important critique of Stalin's perversion of Marxism. But in my work, I was also influenced by another intellectual tradition, a black tradition, Pan-Africanism. Maybe the most important writer was Francis, my friend, who I first met in 1943, and who the world now knows as Kwame Nkrumah. And I really carry around this book to remind me how important his critique of colonialism and imperialism is for Ghana, for Africa, and for oppressed peoples the world over. The last book I carry with me is less intellectual, but it really touches what I care about most: Marxism, political activism, and cricket. It might be a bit narcissistic, but I really do think that this is the best book for a combination of all three of my great loves. I think that by reflecting on things like cricket, things that some people might call fundamental parts of Western civilization, we can articulate a better world for ourselves and for everyone. So that's what's in my bag.
Afro-American, as he would want me to those who tell us to free.
Hello, this is Steve Bantu Biko with the Global Black Radicalism class, and I'm here to tell you what's in my bag. So first, I have the latest copy of the Say So newsletter. As you can see, keep my face right here on the front. I don't have any articles published for this month's issue, but we've got some pretty other good stuff from other members of the group. Article from Stan Shoba is a piece about black music as an art form. Mervyn Joe interviews the great James Combe, asking him about the black theology movement. And yeah, a bunch of other great stuff in here. Why do I think this is important? I keep this on me, one, because, anyone who's looking to get one of these newsletters, you got to get your hands on it. I think education is one of the most important things that we can offer, and we try to do that with our newsletter. And on top of that, we keep it truly independent, both financially and in the content of what we write about. There's an article in here that just called B.J. Wooster a coward. I mean, how many newsletters can do that? Another thing I keep in my bag, argan oil. For the curls, keeps them soft. No, why do I actually keep argan oil on me? It's important because, as you know, I think black is beautiful. I try to preach it, and all the people that I come across, I think we as a black people have to understand that we can't adhere to Western beauty standards. Whiteness is an unattainable goal for us. We need to have beauty that we can see for ourselves. We need to be able to look in the mirror and say, I am beautiful. My argan oil keeps me to do that every day. Last but not least, those who really know me, my prized possession, Frantz Fanon's Wretched of the Earth. Now, this book is so quotable, and it's informed so many of my theories. Mainly because Frantz Fanon talks about not only how the effects of colonialism are not just physical, but psychological. They keep us in chains long after they've taken our land. And he writes that the only way that we can truly achieve freedom is to create what I have now dubbed black consciousness. Keep our mind free, independent, and succinct, our own form of blackness. And that is what I keep.
This is what's in my bag. The first thing I have is a copy of Harambe, which was a newspaper published by the Los Angeles Black Congress, which was an umbrella group that included other groups such as the NAACP and CORE, amongst others. And when I joined Harambee as a writer, it was really one of my first introductions into the world of Black Power and eventually the Black Panther Party itself. The next thing that's in my bag is the Black Panther Party's 10-point program, which was a document that expressed what the party wanted and what the party believed in. And when I joined the party in 1968, like any other rank-and-file member, I had to memorize the 10-point program. But eventually, when I became the Minister of Information for the party, Huey Newton and I amended it to include access to free healthcare for all Black and oppressed peoples. The last thing that's in my bag is my first album, Seize the Time, which I created in 1969. And amongst the many important songs on here, one of the most important was The Meeting, which eventually became the national anthem of the Black Panther Party. And the real reason I created this album was to honor Black people and the Black movement. And I think that sometimes music expresses what words can't. Also, Huey Newton considered music like mine to bring dignity to the movement, and so he saw that as very important. And that's what's in my bag.
Talk to Brother Malcolm, or have him smile at you. Did you
Hi, I'm Angela Davis, and this is what's in my bag. So the first book we're going to look at is This Bridge Called My Back, and the ideas from this book that really resonated with me are ideas surrounding coalition building, not just among Black women, but also with Asian women, Hispanic women, and Native American women. So just capitalizing on the clout that women can have if we work together. The second book that I'm going to pull out of my bag is The Communist Manifesto. Now, this book carries a lot of meaning to me because as I was growing up, when my mom worked with organizations like the NAACP, while she was not a member of the Communist Party, she did work with people that were. So I was very fortunate to be exposed to ideas like this, and I learned about this in high school too. And I think it's really important to see how capitalism is associated with segregation and the criminalization of Black communities. The final book that I'm going to look at is Stuart Hall's The Critical Dialogues in Cultural Studies. Now, this book really touches on the intersectionality of race, of class, and of gender, and showing how we can't just try to combat segregation alone. That's not going to work. We have to address all three. All these issues are tied together. And another important issue that Hall brings up is the issue of criminalization in Black communities, and how, especially surrounding minority women, in looking at the ideas of the welfare queen. And speaking from personal experience, being a member of the prison system at one point, I think it's really important to see how it impacts minority communities. And that's what's in my bag.
leave you now with words from El Hajj Malik El Shabazz?
Before I get involved in anything nowadays, I have to straighten out my own position. And which is clear, I am not a racist in any form whatsoever. I don't believe in any form of racism. I don't believe in any form of discrimination or segregation.
Very challenging to out-organize white racism. Its speed and evolution in this time period has been pretty alarming. Black Lives Matter has presented the truth about the American people. Black Lives Matter has allowed for folks to either show up on the right side of history or do what we just did, which was elect a Trump. Black Lives Matter has both been an opportunity for this country to reevaluate its values and to situate itself in this larger conversation that's really about changing the course of history.
Luxury.